Alrighty, welcome to Coding with Kyle. This is going over some of Kenna's art project, which we have opened up here. So the next step, currently when we run it, we have Kenna's art displayed here. When we see it as a web page, we have a dashboard title, some icon image, some icon images that we created to display an image and have a title for our picture. We want to be able to click one of these and a modal pop-up that has our art but bigger, as well as a description with it. So that's kind of what we're going to work on today. In order to position these things on the page, we added this script here and this style sheet here. And this is Bootstrap. We added Bootstrap, which has some predefined functionality for us. So that way we don't have to write all of the CSS and stuff. We included it with this link, and this was the script for it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use some of the things that they've already made. So when we go to Bootstrap, and then we click on Read the Docs, this is all of the different things that Bootstrap has to offer. What we had implemented before was layout. We used this container, which was a grid system that had rows and columns, and we placed our pictures. These four are on a row, and they each have their own column. And in our code, that's here. We have our container, we have a row, and then each icon style is a column. So that's what we've currently done. What we want to do is go down to components, and we're going to scroll down until we find modal. And this is exactly what we want to implement. We want this pop-up thing. We're going to use this though, where we have this a button that causes a modal to pop up. And what we're going to wind up doing is modifying this button to not use their button, to use like a button here. We're going to modify it to make our image act like a button. So this here is the code for the button trigger modal. So this button here, launch demo modal, corresponds to this button on the page, launch demo modal. This stuff that it has added here, this data toggle and the target, is part of the JavaScript code that's in the script that we added for Bootstrap. It says, hey, use this stuff. And this is the actual functionality of the modal. It says, hey, display this stuff below. So this is the actual modal. When we click this and we have this pop up here, this modal title, woohoo, you're reading this text in a modal, a close button and save changes. That's this code here. So it says modal, and there's a bunch of divs to contain all the stuff, but when we look through them, we find this H1, that's the modal title, which corresponds to the modal title here. And then we find there is this modal body, which has ... This must be the default text. This is the text that they added in. So we will modify that. And then there's a save changes button and a close button. And this close button here, I believe, is this X in the corner. But we're going to play around with it and implement it. So what we're going to do is first we're going to go ahead and take the modal. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of this and copy it, and we're going to scroll down and put it into the art project, and we're going to put it below this last div and before the body. So this div here, this corresponds to this is our grid system container. Let me add a note for you here. Grid system container. And so that's where all of our artwork is. The modals are like a separate thing that's on the page that we want to be hidden until we tell them to appear. So we're going to put the modals down here. And if we run this, it does not have anything show up because all of this stuff is hidden by default. Then what we're going to do is normally we could go ahead and take this button. So okay, don't follow this real quick. Ignore this part. But I'm going to go ahead and take this button, and we can go ahead and place it just anywhere temporarily. I'm going to place it here, just below the title. So when I run it, we have this launch demo modal button, and when I click it, the modal appears, and the text is ... So that's how we implement the Bootstrap stuff. We just kind of copy what we need. The thing is we don't want this button. So now let's follow along here. We don't want the button. We want to turn our image into a button. And to do that, we're just going to take this line here, this data BS toggle modal and the data BS target equals example modal, and we are not including this caret. We're just going to copy these two things, and we're going to come back, and in our div class column icon styles, after the quote and before the caret bracket, we're going to add this in. So notice we have one here. Then inside of it we have our image. This is our tulip, which we have here, and we have the title tulips. So we're adding just the stuff for the modal to the tulips. So now when I run this, the button is gone because I deleted it, and this tulips image now acts as the modal button. This tulips, the text, now acts as the modal button. So that's how we turn it into the button. So now what we want to do is edit this modal. So let's say that this is our tulips modal. We're going to change the ID. The important part here is in the very first div, we have this ID. It says example modal. And if we look at the stuff that we copied over here, it says toggle the modal, and the target is example modal. So this target has the same ID as this one here. And it's going to be a problem if we were to use the same ID for all of them, and I can show this. If we change the text to tulip modal here and run this, this now says tulip modal, and what we're going to do for all of our images is basically turn all of them into buttons. So now if I turn the magnolias into a button, it still does our tulip modal because it has the same ID. So we don't want to get to there yet. We want to focus on this one, and we want to change its ID. So this isn't going to be example modal. We're going to call it our picture. So if this is tulip, then it will be tulip modal. And if we scroll down here, we need to change this ID to tulip modal. If we run it and we don't change it and we click it, nothing happens anymore. But as soon as we change this ID to tulip modal and we run it, it can find it again. Okay. For simplicity stuff, we're going to go ahead and delete this area labeled by. No, we're not. Just kidding. We're going to change example modal label here to tulip modal label. And then you saw when it highlighted this ID. We're going to go to our header and we're going to put tulip modal label. So everywhere that it says example, we're going to change to the picture that we want. All right. So our modal title is going to be the name of our painting. So for this one, we called it tulips. So we run this, we click it, and now it says tulips. And here's the thing about our modal body here is we don't actually want it to say anything there. We want it to have a picture of our tulips. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to our image of the tulips. We're going to copy it, the image line, and then we're going to paste it into the modal body. When we run this, we now have our image of the tulips here. Now the thing that we don't want is we don't want to use the same class icon image, so we can just go ahead and delete this. And when we run it, okay, you know what? Maybe we do want that. Because let's see, our class, our icon image makes the width 100%. So right here it's doing the full width of it. And the modal does not have it. So if we, let me delete that, click run, click this, it's way out of portion, hit new tab, click this, it's still way out of portion. So yes, okay, so we're going to go ahead and keep our class icon image because it modifies the width, but it does also change the height. So there's no, okay. We don't want it to have its own height though. See how it's so small? It's as small as that one. We don't want that. We want it to be bigger. So we're going to make a new class. We're going to call this dot modal image. We want the width to be 100%. Let's start there. You won't have to follow along with this because I am editing your file, so you're going to have this stuff. You do need to know how the modals work and how to copy these images and the stuff here, because you'll need to do that for every single, for the other pieces of art that you add, which I can help in class. So down here at the image that we added, icon image, it's no longer our icon image, this is our modal image. Let's run that. Okay, it's now 100% and it fits within our modal. Now this is the full picture. This looks good. Then what we want is for text to display next to it. So was the title there? The title is still there, tulips. We probably want, we're going to add another div here, and we're going to add inside this div, we're going to have a header 4. That is, again, the title of our painting. And then we'll have a paragraph. And let's do maybe a header 6. This will be our description. And then I'll put a description here. So maybe this is a description of the painting. So whatever you want to put in here. Let's do this. For this painting, I used a brown background so the red of the tulips pops out. Just whatever you'd want to put here. Alright, so now we have this with the description below, but we have to scroll down because this painting takes up a lot of space. It would be better, since we have like a bunch of space to the right, if we could have it to the right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a class for this div, which will be modal description. We're going to go ahead and add our own styles here. Dots modal description. Again, you're going to have this added in. And I'm going to float it to the right. Let's see if that does anything. And probably not. Nope. Okay. So display should be inline block. And then we need to do it just like we did with the icon styles here. Oh no, we didn't do that on this one. Okay. Okay, pause it for a second, do a little bit of research. This is what we're going to wind up doing, actually. We don't need this modal description, and we can keep the modal image at 100%. What we can do is actually use the grid system that we have already imported. And the way that we do that is under the div class modal body. We're going to do div. This is actually in our modal here, so I'm just going to copy this over. So they have a bunch of like modal examples here, and we can do this stuff where the content is to the left and right. So we want something kind of like this. So we're going to, under the modal body, add in this container to be fluid, and then inside of this we need to have a row, and then inside of our row we're going to have 2 columns, and this one, so let's put class equals column for this one. This is where our image is going to go into. And then the div that we made here, we're going to go ahead with, for the description, we're going to go ahead and place it after this, and then also add column to it. So let's see if it automatically put them, okay, so it automatically put them side by side and did it 50%. And it looks like it adjusted our modal to be, no, it's still a little small. So a couple things we want to do is, one, it's at the top. We may want it centered, and we also kind of want it bigger if possible. And we also don't want it to have a save button because they're not uploading anything. So we're going to go ahead, and this button here that says save changes, boom, we're going to just delete it. Now we just have a close button. And we're going to go ahead and search in here vertically centered. So vertically centered modal. So something like this. So this just has a class for modal dialog that says centered. Oh, centered and scrollable. Let's just make it centered. That was in modal dialog. So modal dialog, we're going to add this one. So now it should be centered on the page. So new tab, it's the centered. Okay, so now we would like to make it bigger. Is there an option to make it bigger? Then I'll try the same one, slightly different. Can we make it bigger? Dynamic, if the height of a modal changes while it is open. Okay. Optional sizes. Let's try this. Modal large. The default is 500. Oh, we may even want extra large. Oh, here we go. Small modal. Oh, that's tiny. Large modal. Okay, that's wider. Extra large. Okay, large modal is like the whole center, and extra large is a little bit more. I think since we're displaying the art piece and they're getting it, we want to like really display it on the whole screen. So let's try extra large and see how that works. Be placed on a modal dialog. So here's our modal dialog. We're also going to add in that it's extra large. So let's open it on a new tab. Tulips, do not make it extra large. Oh, there's a dot here. It does not need a dot. Modal extra large. Okay. There we go. So this takes up a big portion of the screen. This looks like that might be pretty good for us to use. And here, if you notice, it's still dynamic. So because this screen is smaller, it takes up less space. So it means, since we're using Bootstrap, they've kind of already done some of the thinking for us of like, what happens if someone's using a desktop like me, or this smaller window could be closer to an iPad. So everything kind of looks like it is uploading correctly here. We can look at one last thing, which is modal large. So if we go ahead and change this XL to an LG for large, it will apply the styles for the large modal. It still takes up the same space there, but in a new tab, if I click it, it doesn't go like quite down to the bottom. So maybe you like this view better. That'll just be a stylistic choice for you versus this one was the extra large. So I'm going to change it back to extra large. Okay. And now this is pretty much set up. So we have tulips modal. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through. We also have this flower one. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that. To do it, we'll just copy everything we have for the tulips modal. We're going to hit copy. We're going to hit enter twice here to make sure we're pasting it at the end. And then we're going to change this to the magnolias modal. We need to change ID. So here, everywhere it says tulip modal, these IDs, we're going to change it to magnolias. Magnolias. And I'm going to copy this text so I don't have to write it over and over. And I'm going to highlight tulip for the labeled by, replace it to magnolias. I'm going to go to this ID for the title. I'm going to change it to magnolias. The title for tulips, we're going to change it to magnolias. Let's keep going down. We have this image source, which we're going to change. The header for this one, we're going to change it to magnolias. We're going to write something different for this painting. And then, let's see. And now we need to connect to this image. So the source is tulips.jpg, which is this image over here, tulips.jpg. We want to use this flower.jpg as our magnolias. So even though we've been naming everything magnolias, because this image is flower.jpg, we need to put flower.jpg here. So whenever you upload your own images, you want to make sure that we rename these names to what you want to call them. It'll be a little easier. So now when we click this, we get tulips. We click this one, we're not getting anything. And the reason is because we need to add the button. So we have tulips and our magnolias here. And in the tulips, we added this. We added this data into the div here. So we're going to copy it. We're going to go to class, column, icon styles right here and paste in this data, and we're going to change it. If we run this and we click it, it shows our tulips. Because this target says tulip modal, we're going to change it to magnolias modal because we changed the ID to magnolias. So when we run, it now says magnolias modal, and now it's all the one that we changed. And so now we have a working one for both levels for tulips and for magnolias. So now what you're going to do is follow those steps to copy everything and find your own images. So remember, we go to here, we go to upload file. You're going to upload your image file and then rename the image file. So if you were to upload a new image, rename it by right-clicking and clicking rename. And then all you need to do is find, like roses, the next one. What do you want to call it? You change this title. You change the source to match whatever. This one is rose.jpg, which we don't have that image. That's why it's displaying this little thing that says photo. We're going to rename this to whatever file we imported. We're going to go ahead and add here the data BS and toggle stuff. Then we're going to scroll down. We will copy the modal and paste it below and change everything for the ID to just the one that so if we uploaded roses, we do roses modal for all of these, but this will correspond to whatever you decide to call your image. And I can help you with the first one in class, but that's what you'll be doing. And that'll pretty much complete your art portfolio. All right, thanks.